It's 8 o'clock, Monday, the 3rd of February, 2025. Welcome to the Headline News Review, and this is where we analyze some of the stories that were brought to you at 7 o'clock. I hope you had a great weekend. I am Adeyemi.
And I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey.
And we have Nicholas Nwarunoye who's joining us live this morning. Nicholas, good morning to you.
Morning.
You look all refreshed and energized.
Yeah, I had a fantastic weekend.
You had a fantastic weekend.
That's the first time he's saying that.
Thank
That's
God.
wonderful.
Thank God you didn't support Manchester City this weekend. So
Hey, what's that supposed to mean? You want to?
No. It's just to say good morning to Arsenal fans, especially this morning, so you can join the conversation. Let's begin the conversation this morning on some of these topical Nigerian stories that are making headlines across major newspapers. But please note that our views expressed in the program is not in any way the position of Flow FM 92.7, but solely as expressed by Nicholas Nwarunoye, or maybe contributions that we get for reactions that we get from callers this morning. But please, let's keep it very, very civil. Let's keep the conversation civil and straight to the point. You have the space of 60 seconds, that's 1 minute, to make your comments so we can accommodate as many comments as possible. The number is 0807 777 9927. 0807 777 9927.
And now this is also to remind you that we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. And it's on Facebook at FlowFM NG and on YouTube at FlowFM 927. Let's get into the conversation real quick. And this one is about Ebola showing up again in Uganda, and NCDC, warning Nigerians and saying that, or rather, let me use the word advising Nigerians to avoid non-essential travel to affected countries. What do people who have to do business in Uganda, how do we go about this now? And why is it resurfacing even?
One of the advisory from WHO says that we don't have to make restrictions because, when you look at the analysis, of the incident, only one death has been reported and at least 44 contacts thereabout. So they are actively tracing those contacts as we speak. And, it is not enough to declare a kind of, restriction, travel restriction, travel advisory, like we had when it first happened the other time in, globally, and where everywhere have to be put on a lockdown, so we don't have that situation yet. But it is okay that we are aware so that if there is anything that is coming from Uganda, we have to be very, very careful. And one other thing, the good thing about it is that we've had an incident like that was well managed by Nigeria, and there are some basic protocols that was put in place, which can easily be activated again, So, by and large, it's just the normal. I just sincerely hope it's one of those normal things that just happen. You just advise people to be very careful, So, and we have to be very careful too.
And you think Nigeria learns from the last time, Ebola outbreak?
Oh, yes. Nigeria did wonderfully well. As a matter of fact, if you recall, at that time, the United States of America actually came to understudy how Nigeria was able to manage the Ebola virus, pandemic at that time. So, by and large, we had a fantastic record. We had a fantastic man managing that kind of, considering the fact that we have, they consider our health system subpar. So we managed it so well that it was kind of legendary, and you rarely hear accolades coming to an African country like Nigeria on that kind of an episode.
Wow.
So it was beautiful. It was a moment that showed that Nigeria is actually resilient when it comes to things like that.
Again, you recall that during that time, the last time Ebola outbreak, where a lot of Nigerians were mythically told to use, bathe in salt water and all of these things. But again, it's just for us to educate the people again. What do you have to say on that? For us to have the right information.
Exactly. You see, over time, you hear a lot of, advisories, health advisories that are not healthy. Like you mentioned, the issue of bathing with salt and so many things like that could, But the good thing is that, as soon as you hear that, as soon as it makes its way into the public domain, there is a counter, thorough, authoritative, rebuttal, and before you know what's happening, it's all over the places, and people are corrected in no time, So this is another reminder that you are going to you start hearing things like that again. You have to be very careful, cross check, double check, triple check if necessary, if you should take that kind of advice.
All right. Let's hope that we adhere to it as Nigerians. Okay, so we're safe and protected from the virus. Let's move on to this conversation. Nigerians should brace for higher power bills, says federal government. Federal government has announced plans to increase electricity tariffs in the coming months while ensuring subsidies for low-income users.
The thing is this, the reason why there are no investment in the power sector, private sector investment interest that much is because it is not lucrative enough. I keep on going to the example of the Aaron test that was done in Lagos under the former governor, who is now the president. He brought in Aaron to do an IPP, independent power plant. But at the end of the day, why wasn't it successful? It wasn't successful because the state government had to learn that they had to power virtually all the power into the national grid, and they will have to. The tariffing system has to follow the laid down, pricing system. So at the end of the day, it wasn't lucrative. It wasn't viable for the builders of that plant. So that has always hobbled private sector. So the essence of tariff is to make the place lucrative. But again, as much as we need power, the other side of the problem is that Nigerians are so poor they can't afford what the general pricing is. They can't afford it. Our industry are still very, very weak. They can't, so there will be elements of subsidies. So that is why, federal government is saying that they are going to up the tariff, but they are going to take care of the vulnerable people. But where I have my fear is that I am beginning to have this feeling that when federal government say vulnerable people, they don't even have a clear understanding of how vulnerable the average Nigerian is. We don't know how poor the average Nigerian is. They don't know how the direness, if I may use that expression, of the average Nigerian man, and how reliant we are on those 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of power generation to life sustenance in itself. So that is where I have my concern.
All right. With this, tariff hike, will it affect, those who use the prepaid or the postpaid meters? Or is just going to be on the estimated billings, or
it's generally across board? You see,
generally across board.
It's generally across board. Yeah, they are going to. You see, and again, why this postpaid? Or is it this estimated billing thing? It's just the refusal of the discos to distribute metering. You understand? You see, it might be easy to blame them. It might be easy to blame corruption. It might be able to blame, and you'll be right, absolutely right. But again, you have to look at, with the estimate, the kind of makeup for their losses with the estimated billings. You understand? They pile a lot of, costs on estimated billings. You just come in, they just give you a flat rate to go and pay and take care of the month. Whether you have power or you don't have power. It's quite different from when you have, when you slot in your card,
you have your prepaid meter,
and you have your private meter.
All right. So what is delaying, or what is causing the setback, for Nigerians accessing the prepaid? Because again, Lagos State is saying, I saw the news that Lagos was phasing out estimated billing soon.
You see, the problem is, we have an entrenched problem in Nigeria where, when it comes to distribution of certain things, when it comes to managing a process, you see a lot of interest. They gang up, to control the system because of the filthy lucre that come from extorting people. You might be surprised. We were hearing over time that the estimated bill should give it free and the rest. But go and ask for, metering. Go and ask for a meter at the nearest disco and see how much you'll be charged by touts. You understand? So they keep on. You see, it's just lip service. And essentially the problem is that there is always this inordinate desire to control the system. What they should do is to make it open, get vendors. Just look at what happened to this NIMC thing. The moment it was opened, they opened the system. Look at the number of enrollees that came in. You understand? They should try, government should see a way of partnering private sector people, people you can trust, they can get, you can pay them, so that they can get more people to get the meter. You see that it lowers the cost, it lowers the time with which you get the meter, and at the end of the day, it captures more people, and you're able to make the the tariffing system is more transparent.
Now, okay, please go on.
All right. Concerning the vulnerable Nigerians, you talked about earlier, the special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on energy mentioned at the Africa's Head of State Energy Summit in Tanzania that Nigeria is presenting a $32 billion plan to expand electricity access by 2030.
Yeah, what it means is it's a plan. It's not as if Nigeria has that kind of money. You see, why they took it there is to shop for investors. That this is what they are, this is how big we need to inject, and this is the returns that is going to come in. So if federal government had the money, they don't need to advertise. So what they are going to do is to shop for investors there. So that's what he's saying. So it's just an avenue to get partners, to see the plan they have for the power and the power sector, so that they can buy in, and grow the industry as partners with Nigeria.
And is that feasible?
Oh, of course, it is feasible. Okay. You see, the problem we have always had is our system. You need to create a system that investors trust very much. Okay. You see, the moment you put that in place, investors will definitely come because people are looking for where to invest.
I was just going to ask you lastly on that before we move on to the next story, and it's still going to be on metering. What do you think the Minister for Power, Adedayo, is faced with? What challenge is he faced with as to, capture Nigerians on metering?
A lot. The minister faces a lot of interest. You see, first and foremost, you have to understand that, the power sector has a lot of, a lot of politically exposed people, who have been, they know the corridors of power very well. You understand? They've invested in that sector very much as their retirement plan. You understand? So definitely, you're going to have, when whatever you are bringing in, you have to factor them in. It's been there over time. If you recall, there was a certain time they said there were some, generator cabals controlling, So it's a myriad of interests that we're talking about. So he is coming in as a technocrat, and the technocrat does not have any political consideration, but that is the minister is employed by a politician. So there must be a marriage of those interests. He wanting to do his job, and his paymaster trying to satisfy some interest. So those are some of the things that he has to consider. It's a very challenging thing. Then, of course, even within the technical aspect of it, there are varying options that you have. And all these options are being put by very strong, powerful lobbyists with interest both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. So when it comes to that, you have to navigate the terrain very well. And you have to be very, very careful of the kind of choice you make, because at the end of the day, it's your name that will be mentioned.
All right. Lastly, if you look at that, at a time like this, the Nigerians are going through a whole lot, and then he's saying that Nigerians should brace up to pay for more electricity and higher tariffs and all. If you look at if you look at it, a lot of wealthy Nigerians are going for alternative power right now, which is the solar energy and all installations across homes. You see across roofs and all. Now, are we getting to a point where Nigerians are beginning to pay for their own energy, or who's bearing the brunt?
The thing is, Nigeria, there is this saying we've been saying this for a very long time. The average Nigerian is like a local government. He provides his own power, he provides his own water, provides his own shelter, provides virtually everything for himself. That is what the average Nigerian is. So you see that, in fact, it's even the uptake of this alternative energy source is even slower, and it's slower because there are no meaningful investment in it. And I think it's to a very large extent is deliberate. You understand? It's just like the housing thing, for instance. Why is it that it must always be cement when there are other options? Red brick, for instance. You understand? We have the abundance of red earth that you can use to build it. So why is it? You see, it is that, monopoly thing. You equally have it in the power sector. The solar option, if enough investment is plowed into it, you can rest assured that it's far cheaper in the long run, easier to maintain and sustainable. Unlike having your power source powered by the fossil fuel thing. You understand, where you have to rely on gas, you have to rely on petroleum and the rest of them. No,
Talking about petroleum, Dangote Refinery has reduced the pump price of petrol to 890 naira. That's like a 60 naira decrease from 950 naira per liter. And Petroan is saying that they're praising Dangote, saying that this would reduce the cost of living for an average Nigerian when it comes to transportation and whatnot.
I will urge a cautious optimism in that regard, because if you look at the Dangote's explanation, they said the reduction in that price is as a result of the what you have in the international
the drop in the international price.
Drop in international price. Right. And we said it here before that usually the vagaries of trading in crude oil affect the domestic pricing in each country, in individual countries. So if you have it on the high side, then it will have a corresponding reflection on the petroleum pump price. So we should be cautiously optimistic of that. You understand? But again, it equally speaks to what we have always said too, that you see, the moment you allow the market forces to determine, the pricing of a commodity, the consumers always gain. The consumer will always gain. So let's sincerely hope that it's sustainable, really, that the pricing will keep on coming down.
All right.
All right, let's move on to another story. And this time, the House of Reps Committee on Communication is engaging with the Nigerian Labour Congress to prevent a nationwide protest planned for February 4th, that's tomorrow 2015, in response to the 50% hike in telecom tariff. Is it necessary for the strike? Is it necessary, or the protest, rather?
You see, protests, strike are usually tools of industrial negotiation.
Yes, please.
You understand? So there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. But it's only the where we have a big problem in this country is becoming too mundane. It's becoming less meaningful. You get the point. You see, my views about the tariff hike in telecoms, services have been made very public. I have spoken against it, and I keep on saying that I don't see any need for that right now because the federal government are not exploring all options. But again, the labor coming in at this point, maybe we might at the end of the day have a bit of a reduction. We are not saying there shouldn't be a price hike. We are not saying there shouldn't be a tariff hike in the use of telecom services. But it has to be commensurate with what is on ground, the reality on ground. You understand? So let's see what happens. Maybe there can be a reduction kind of from that 50%, because for me, 50% is way too high. It's way too high, considering the economic crunch. We are just talking about another tariff, a planned tariff in the power sector. For electricity. So again, telecoms again. No, come on. No. That's way too much.
It's still too much.
All right. So what best option do you think NLC should adopt this time? Or how effective do you think that protest will be? Secondly, do you think Nigerians are welcoming the protests?
Well, for now, the confidence level that Nigeria have for NLC is rather low at this moment, because when you look at every single one of their negotiation, most times Nigerians come out feeling shortchanged. Look at the case of the 70 minimum wage. If you recall, what they said and corroborated by federal government is that, look, the only condition that we can pay that is federal government said, if you want me to pay 200,000 naira as minimum wage, then I will have to increase fuel. You understand? So the only thing why NLC accepted 70,000 was that there will be no increment in fuel. But what happened at the end of the day?
There was still increment.
So that's the point. So, they are waking up now to start another round of negotiation and, threats of strike. How are we sure that whatever they come out is going to be binding? We are not going to be, the average Nigerian will not be, left in the lodge, clutching the short straw at the end of the day. So that is where the problem is right now. So it's not whether it is right or wrong, is where the issue rather is more of the way we even have confidence in NLC.
I was just going to ask you again that do they truly fight the cause of the ordinary Nigerian? If you look across state, you have their branches all over the state. How effective have they been across the 36 states of the country?
Well, you see, over time there has been a weakening of the NLC, and honestly, we can't entirely blame them. You see, because it still has to do with, the kind of the enormous power that government agencies have been arrogating to themselves that has been shrinking, how do I put it? That has been taking a lot of, right of negotiation by Nigerians from them. I spoke about this, where this right of citizenship is no longer there. The average Nigerian is just a resident here. You understand? You see, because we don't even understand what citizenship means. The citizenship means is that you can negotiate with your government that this is what we want. You understand? So NLC, all these NGOs are supposed to be there to ensure that that right of citizenship is there. But over time, we discover that federal government have been eroding that right from having forcefully taken that right away from Nigerians. And by in doing that, to do that, they have had to weaken all this labor movement tremendously. So that is why we find ourselves in this situation where, the NLC does not negotiate from the position of strength. You understand? They usually go there as a weak agent, a weak negotiator. They don't have anything to negotiate. They don't have any strong power. It's so easy for federal government to break any strike. It is so, if time will fail me, if I need to analyze how that it's so easy for them, they will break it and they will get away with it. So that is the dilemma we find ourselves right now.
All right.
What can be done to strengthen it then?
How come?
What can be done?
To strengthen the NLC.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's something that every Nigerian, should be involved in. And this is what I mean. You see, the Nigerians as they are right now are completely divided. You understand? So, and for me, I think it's a deliberate thing. Divided on ethnic, religious, ideological lines. And there is always effort to ensure that division is there. So the moment you have that, it trickles into whatever coalition you form. You understand? Because those NLC, whatever, TUC, they are made up of the same Nigerians that are divided. So the moment you have a situation where, no, because he's an Igbo man or he's a Yoruba man that is championing the cause. So that's why, because he's our son that is the governor or the, So the moment you start having that sentiment, there can never be cohesiveness,
All right, let's discuss a bit of, other interesting stories. And this is coming off from the weekend. And that has to do with the very viral audio clip of former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai. I'm speaking on his relationship with the APC. He says, the APC has gone far ahead of him and they've left him behind. That he no longer trusts in the APC. Apparently, speaking of his defection, which is looking like, there might be a defection. Also, Aminu Mesari, the former governor of Katsina, and dismissed rumors of a merger aimed at ousting the APC, calling it a regrouping of individuals who lost political favor.
Well, the thing is that I see within the political space, a lot of things happen there that the hoi polloi, that is the generality of people they have an idea of what is going on. But normally when I look at situations like this, I just look at the people talking, their profile, and it tells me what could exactly be happening. Yeah, Aminu Masari might be absolutely correct that, if he's speaking specifically in terms of Nasir El-Rufai, Nasir El-Rufai lost big time. Let us not kid ourselves. He lost big time after the 2023 election.
About, former aviation minister Rotimi Amechi.
But Rotimi Amechi, yes, you can equally call him you can say that he lost too, but I think I would rather leave Amechi's case out because he was actually warned. He knew what was coming to him. You understand? Because the people he aligned with, he doesn't have any. There is no relationship between his type of politics, the Rivers man type of politics, the Southern politics, with those he aligned with in 2015. You understand? But you see, an El-Rufai is a part and parcel of that tendency. You understand? So, coming out to start complaining now, for me, it's just like a loser talking, really, if you ask me. Because I think he enjoyed the very best of APC. He became a governor for 8 years. He enjoyed, he even dismantled all his opponents. He made sure that they didn't return to the Senate. That is, I'm talking of Shehu Sani. So he decimated all his opponents in Kaduna. So, there is always this thing. You see, it's always a merry-go-round kind of thing. Politics is a merry-go-round thing. You always have yours coming. So how prepared are you? That is why I said I'm going to leave Amechi's case. Amechi appears to have handled his loss very, very well. You understand? So I think immediately after President Muhammadu Buhari was sworn in, he knew he was a loser. He knew he was an outsider. Because we had the permutations they had why they brought him on board. You understand? So, and I think he handled it very well, maturely. You get my point? So that is my difference with that. But of course, generally, when you are in the opposition, you want power, so people are definitely going to talk. But, calling El Rufai an opposition element, that is, no, he doesn't belong there. The real opposition, we know who the real oppositions are.
All right, let's round off with this one on the home front. It's quite sad.
Yeah.
And we hope it doesn't, constantly repeat itself in this manner. Well, there was a fatal crash on Okolowo Road, and it claimed 2 lives, and that's a mother and her child along Okolowo in the Ilorin South local government area, and it was a trailer with a brake failure, and it collided with a motorcycle, and then they died on the spot.
Enough have been said about Okolowo and the accident that is accident prone and the rest of them. But you see, something else again. We said things about the kind of people who drive trailers. We've said something about that too. How about those who drive the bikes too? I don't know. With this fuel thing, I do less of driving. Apart from the fact that it saves me a lot of money. I have a very bad arm. I can't use my arm very well. So I take bikes. I take often. I take Marwa often, and I can say this without any fear of doubt that most of the guys who are behind us, they are clinically insane people. They should do a lot of tests on them. That is the simple truth. You say, look, there is no. You only need to just do a sampling. You understand? Do a sampling and see the kind of craziness that happens on the highway. And that is why most times when you try to tell them that, look, guy, take them easy, they turn on you. They tell you, you want to tell me I don't know what I'm doing? So, there has been, in fact, there was an instance when I was coming to the studio. At a point I had to keep quiet because I knew the guy was just unbalanced. I got to where I was, the initial fee, a fare that is charged. In fact, he overcharged me. So I have to leave a whole 1,000. He was supposed to give me about 600. I left the 1,000 so that I don't miss my appointment here. So it can be, that is the level of, a poor regulation we have in the kind of people who ride on some of these things. Because, you see, most times, when you tell some of these bikers to take it easy, you understand? I don't have the fact of I don't have all the picture of I don't have the clear picture of what happened, but I can tell you that a more careful bike rider can save lives. A good tanker driver must know that his tanker has a problem, because there are some basic checks that we did. The other day we were talking about safety measures and things like that, and these are part of it. So most of these things, you see that they are avoidable. They are avoidable if those who are relevant, those who are in the authorities, those who should regulate traffic, those who should drive the bike and the rest of them do their jobs properly.
Now, I'm just going to ask you this very ridiculous question, though, because it may sound off as that. Should a motorbike be allowed on a
highway
like that?
No.
A passenger bike on the road like that?
No.
So what how much does this say to our own education and the premium that we even place on our own lives as citizens?
We are fatalists by nature in Nigeria.
All right.
That's one sad reality. What will be, will be. You understand? And the moment you say, no, you shouldn't say that, they think you are blaspheming. I'm not being specific about one religion. It cuts across. You see, when you talk to some Pentecostals, or their level of fatalism is horrifying, So, these are some of the things that I think this is where government need to really stamp its feet and do what is necessary, honestly.
Well, we hope that as governments, because I think it was just last month. 3 weeks ago, we had a conversation about that same,
Okolo. We've had it about 2 or 3 times.
Where
and
about
how many weeks into the new
barely,
year?
really, really sad, and I'm really lost for words.
Honestly.
But anyways, as governments are trying to find a solution, Nigerians should also please be careful.
Be careful.
You don't want to you don't want to ride on a bike with a child, not on a child on the highway like that. Please place a premium on your own life. Protect yourself as well too. And sadly, you see them ride without helmets and all.
In fact, there is even a frightening. Most bikers don't even have the side mirror anymore. Side mirrors comes with the bike, but they yank it off because it's more convenient.
And most of them have bent their bikes now, and then you see them ride, and then they sit in a very awkward
if
position.
you're on a bike with a clinically insane, quote unquote, like you put it, bike man, is it not easier for the passenger to just stop and say, "I want to actually calm down"?
I do it regularly. I even get off the bike.
I'll get off the bike.
But most Nigerians don't do it. Yeah, I don't know, and this is something. Is a culture we need to they need to cultivate. When they feel they are overspeeding, you should be able to tell them.
You should rather stand on the side of the road and wait for a sane person to carry you.
Or get in a cab. But anyways, there's a lot of conversations. But we'll just keep an eye on on the story, and then probably have more time to really go into transportation, alternatives within the city. That's the size of the program this morning, and of course, a good way to kick off from the week. The rest of the week is looking like, well, we're going to hit big stories as well, too. Thank you, Nicholas, for sharing this morning. I am Dayo Adeyemi.
I am Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for joining us, and happy new week.
All right, please don't forget that the views expressed is not in any way the position of Flow FM, but solely as expressed by the analyst this morning. Have a